Plan G is great, but there are some pitfalls and easy mistakes that people often make when signing up for a Plan G. And I'm going to reveal all of them in this video. You're going to learn everything that I've learned over the last 10 years about Plan G, the good and the bad, so that you'll have the knowledge that you need to get the best Medicare coverage possible and live in retirement worry-free. When you go on Medicare, you're going to have two choices for using your Medicare benefits. Either you're going to have original Medicare A and B with the supplemental plan, or you're going to have an Advantage plan. Many people going on Medicare make a decision on price alone, and I would encourage you, don't do that. What you need to do is make sure that you understand how your Medicare is going to work, and both of those options are going to work differently. I want to share with you just a quick story about two different people that had been diagnosed with cancer. One was a gentleman who had been diagnosed with colon cancer who was using a supplemental Plan G, and the lady actually had breast cancer and she had an Advantage plan. And these two coverages work differently. Keep in mind, anyone that's going to have cancer treatment, it's going to be very expensive. Radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery. And both of these individuals had those. And so the gentleman on the Plan G, he was able to go to any doctor that he wanted to. He got to pick his providers. What he was going to be responsible for on his Plan G was only one item medically, and that is he had to meet his Medicare Part B deductible. That was $233. Now, certainly he had to pay his premium for his Plan G, but that was his only responsibility. He paid the premium and a small deductible of $233. Well, the lady, on the other hand, was on an Advantage plan, and all Advantage plans have max out-of-pockets for the year. She happened to be on a plan that had $6,700 a year max out-of-pocket. And again, she's going through chemotherapy, radiation, and eventually a surgery. And so within just a matter of a couple months, she maxed out on her Advantage plan, $6,700. But unfortunately, her treatment carried into the next year where her max out-of-pocket reset, and she had to spend another $6,700 out of pocket. So within just a matter of a few months, she spent $13,400. The gentleman, he had a small deductible of $233, and of course he had to pay his premium. But both of them had to pay, but she paid substantially more money for him. And the reason for that is because her coverage worked differently than his did. And that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. We're going to talk about the G plan. First off, we're going to talk about the coverage, in other words, how's the G plan going to work, the cost of the plan, and then the claims process when using a G plan. And then as a bonus, I'm going to talk about what's necessary when changing a G plan. So let's get right into the coverage of the Plan G. So the first thing I'm going to teach you would be the 6 gaps that exist in the Medicare system. So I'm going to go to the board to show you this. So this chart represents original Medicare A and B. So when we get a supplemental Plan G, what is happening is Medicare A and B is going to pay first. And other than preventive services, Medicare doesn't pay anything 100%. So you will have responsibilities financially. We call those gaps in your coverage. And there's actually 6 gaps in the coverage. There's 3 gaps on the A and 3 gaps on the B. A is the hospital side of Medicare, the inpatient side, B is the outpatient, and doctor-related services. So let's look at those 6 gaps real quickly. Number 1, if I'm hospitalized, I have a financial responsibility of a deductible. Now, this deductible is not annual. You and I are accustomed to annual deductibles, but original Medicare A and B, this deductible can happen more than once in a year. If I'm out of the hospital more than 60 days, now Medicare makes me pay another deductible if I'm rehospitalized. So that's the first gap. The second gap would be if I'm in the hospital longer than 60 continuous days, Medicare begins to charge, notice, daily copays. These are very expensive. That means month 3 is going to cost me $12,000. Month 4 and month 5 are going to cost me $25,000 each of those months. That's the second gap. And then Part A also covers skilled nursing facilities. This is for someone that's had a stroke or maybe hip replacement and they're going in for rehabilitation. And so the gap would be this. We have $194.50 daily copay. Now, as long as we've been in the hospital at least 3 days, Medicare covers the first 20 days in the skilled nursing facility. But if you're in skilled nursing after 20 days, Medicare charges you a daily copay. So you'd be responsible for that for the next 80 days of coverage. So those are the gaps on the A. Now the B side of Medicare is called Medicare. This is the outpatient side or the actual doctor-related services as well. And so we start off with a deductible on the B side. It's $233. Now, this deductible is not like this one. It's not multiple times in the year. It's actually just one time a year. That's a calendar year deductible that is going to reset every January. Sometimes it goes up a little bit. Sometimes it stays the same. So after on this side of Medicare, we've met the small deductible. Now we're going to be responsible for what is called coinsurance, which is 20% of the balance of any Medicare bill. And the problem with the 20% coinsurance, without any other insurance, this 20% never stops, meaning there's no maximum. It just keeps going and going. So if someone has a doctor visit or a specialist visit or a surgeon or an anesthesiologist, they're responsible for 20% of the bill, and there's no stop loss to it whatsoever. And then the last gap on the B side of Medicare is called an excess charge. Excess, now this is limited to 15%. And what this means, this is a doctor that takes Medicare patients and bills Medicare, but they will not accept Medicare as payment in full. They add to the bill. When they add to the bill, the most they can add is 15%, and whenever that happens, you as a Medicare beneficiary are responsible for it. So as you can see, we have 3 gaps on the A and we have 3 gaps on the B. The majority of people that stay in original Medicare A and B do not like this kind of financial exposure, so they take these gaps or these liabilities and they transfer those to an insurance company. So when people are buying a supplemental plan, they're doing so to cover these gaps. So when we take the G plan, what's happening is you're eliminating your financial responsibility for 5 of the 6 gaps. So with that G plan, the A deductible is paid every time, even if it's multiple times in the year, the G plan will cover it. Extended hospital stay copays, covered by the G. Extended skilled nursing copays, covered by the G plan. The G plan will cover all the 20%, regardless if it's $200,000 or $50,000. The G plan will cover it, and every time you see a physician that would add to the bill the excess charge, the G plan will cover that. So as you can see, the only gap you're responsible for is that once a year deductible of $233. So when you pay that premium, you're transferring that liability of all these gaps to the insurance company, and they're going to pay those from that policy instead of you having to pay for it out of the pocket. Sure, remember that story I told you about the guy who had colon cancer? The bills were well over $250,000. What did he have to pay? He only had to pay $233, that deductible. That was only one time. And that G plan covered all the rest of his cancer expenses, his radiation, his chemotherapy, and his surgery. Out of pocket, $233 was his only liability because he had the G plan. So let's head back and let's go over some of the other details with the Plan G. Now, the second benefit of a supplemental Plan G is the providers that are available to you. When you're on a Plan G, all you have to do is ask that provider whether they take Medicare or not. So any doctor, any hospital, any pharmacy actually takes Medicare. You can really go anywhere that you want. Unlike Advantage plans where you have HMOs and PPOs, Supplemental Plan G does not have a network, so you can go anywhere that's going to take Medicare. Now, the next benefit of a Plan G is that you'll never have to worry about pre-authorizations. A pre-authorization is when the insurance company gets to have the final say-so in some kind of a health service that you need. For instance, a hip replacement or a knee replacement or maybe an MRI or a CAT scan. When it comes to Supplemental Plan G, if your doctor says you need it and Medicare is going to cover it, the insurance company has no say-so whatsoever. That final authority rests with the doctor. In comparison to an Advantage plan, about 70% of the services you'll need are going to have to be pre-approved by the insurance company before you're going to get that service. With supplemental plans, doctor says you need it, Medicare says we'll cover it, end of story, you're going to get that health care service. And that's really one of the major reasons why people like Plan Gs, because they have the freedom to make sure that they and their doctor are going to make all the decisions. So one of the beauties of the Plan G is that you'll never have to worry about fighting an insurance company, because if Medicare says that they'll cover a service and your doctor says you need it, that is the end of the story. So that means that once Medicare has paid their part, 10 times out of 10, that supplemental plan is going to pay the rest. Another wonderful feature about the Plan G is that you never have to worry about switching it. Just like A and B is written for life, your G plan is also written for life. It can never be canceled by that insurance company unless you fail to pay the premium. Otherwise, it is yours for the rest of your life. Now, one of the common questions I get from people is, can the insurance company cancel my policy if I have a lot of claims? And the answer to that question is no, they cannot. It's not like your automobile policy where if you're the one who causes a 5-car pileup and the highway and there's all kinds of bills for repairs, they're going to cancel you for sure. But with health insurance at Plan G, they cannot do that. It doesn't matter how much you have cost them in claims, they can never cancel your policy unless you fail to pay the premium. So if we're on a Plan G, what's going to happen whenever we move? Well, that policy is portable. That means you can take it with you. It doesn't matter if you move from Florida to Hawaii or from New York to Texas. That policy is going to go with you. The terms cannot change. You pay the premium and that policy is yours for life. Finally, under coverage, let's talk about the prescription drug component of your plan whenever you have a supplemental plan. Your drug plan will not be a part of the supplemental plan. You actually get to pick a separate plan. We call those standalone plans. And in most markets, there's going to be 15 to 25 different plans to choose from. So we look at the meds you're taking now, and you get to select a plan that's going to fit the medications that you're taking presently. And if those were to change, either go up or go down, then you can pick a new plan every single year. So the beauty of the Plan G is you have the option to select the very best prescription drug plan for your specific situation. Now, the downside of those separate drug plans is you are going to have a premium for those plans. And that can range anywhere from $7 to maybe $70, depending upon the medications that you take. But at least you do get to choose the plan that you want. So next, I'm going to talk about the cost of the Plan G. And I'm going to go back to the board to teach you this. So before we get into the cost of the Plan G, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and like and subscribe so that others can enjoy this material, and then you'll be notified every time we post a new video. So when it comes to the cost of the Plan G, there's two items that we're looking at. Number one, we look at the initial premium. What's your first year premium? And then we look at also the stability of those rates. In other words, what are those premiums going to be in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years down the road? So here's how it works when it comes to the initial premium. Initial premium is always going to be based upon age, gender, and tobacco status. And once we've established that initial premium, let me give you an example. Let's say that I'm a female, 65, non-tobacco. My initial premium is $120. In most states, that premium can actually go up two different ways. It can go up every time you have a birthday. It can also go up as a group increase. Okay. Now, age increases are very minimal. Normally, it's about $40 or $50 for the whole year. So that goes up maybe $3 or $4 because of age. But what can happen is also the whole group can go up. Now, whenever we have a group increase, the reason for that is because this group is actually losing money. So here's what happens. Policyholders pay in their premiums, and the company pays out claims. So money goes into the group through premiums, and money goes out through claims. So money goes in and money goes out. So a group increase actually occurs whenever more money goes out than money that is coming in. And so when an insurance company says we are losing 5% on the group, they actually have to petition for a rate increase of 5%. And the insurance commissioner of that state actually has to approve it. But whenever they approve a rate increase for the whole group, that affects everyone in that group equally. They're not going to single someone out because they just cost the group $100,000 or $300,000. That increase will affect everyone. Folks, all prices will go up. But what we find is that some companies take these group increases more frequently, more drastically. And the reason for that is because they're usually smaller groups. So if I go with a smaller group, I have a greater amount of risk because there's not as many policyholders in that group to spread the risk out. So what we do, and what other independent brokers are going to do typically, we're going to look at all the companies, not just the initial premium, but also stability of those rates. And we like to go with companies that have proven historically to be very rate stable. And that's typically those that have a larger group of policyholders. So one way you can look at it, let's suppose that you're in the Pacific Ocean and you're in a canoe. I can assure you that in the ocean, a canoe, you're going to feel every single wave that's going to hit your canoe. It's going to be a very rocky ride. But if you're in that same ocean and you're in a cruise ship, you probably know that you're in the ocean because it's going to be a very smooth ride. And that's the way it is with these groups. Whenever we're in smaller groups, we're going to feel the impact of people who have cancer and a lot of knees and hips that are being replaced in the group. But if I'm in a larger group, those health issues are spread out to more people, and we're not going to feel the effect of those near as much. So we're always looking for stability of rates. So we like to go with companies that are larger groups. So let's head back and talk about the claims process for G plans. When you have to go to the doctor or go to the hospital, what you'll be doing is you're going to use your A and B Medicare card. You're going to give that to the provider. You are not responsible to file any claims. The providers will do so. They're going to file that claim with Medicare. Medicare pays its part, and they will take the balance of that bill and they'll send it to your supplemental company. And so if you have a small deductible, you'll be responsible for that. But that insurance company is going to pay the balance of that bill once you've met your small deductible. So as we wrap this video up, I told you earlier that the most important part is understanding how and when we can change plans. So let's get into that. When you first go on Medicare, Medicare gives you this 6-month window, this opportunity for you to actually get any Medicare supplemental plan of your choice, any of the letters, any of the companies. So even if you had cancer or some other serious health problem, they cannot charge you any additional premium, nor can they deny that coverage to you. And those companies have to take you. And that window lasts for 6 months of when you first go on Medicare. So many people think that they can start their Medicare with an Advantage plan, and they do so because there's very little premium. And then once their health begins to change, now they can just switch to a supplemental plan. That is not the way it's going to work. When someone's on an Advantage plan and they want to switch to a supplemental plan, almost always they're going to have to medically qualify to do that. They're going to have to pass those 25 health questions, and all their medications are going to be looked at by the insurance company. So they actually can deny you to make that switch. So when we make this Medicare decision, we can't just look at what our health is today. We have to realize that this decision is going to have impact for me for 10, 15, maybe 25 years. And if your health changes in the future, it may be impossible for you to get off that Advantage plan and get onto the supplemental plan. Hey, I always like to say there's no do-overs when it comes to Medicare choices. So you need to be wise about your decision. Hey, I know there's been a lot of information that I've shared with you, but there's one thing for sure that I want you to remember, really take away from this, and that is when you decide if a Plan G is good for you, you want to go with a very rate stable company. And so the process of doing that could be you could call every insurance company that offers those Plan G. Yeah, frankly, that can be a little stressful because they're going to have to hear a lot of sales pitches and they're going to try to pressure you into making a decision to go with their company. Or what you can do is use an independent broker. And that's what we've chosen to be. And that just simply means that an independent broker is going to tell you about all the companies and all their prices, as well as what's most important is the stability of their rates. We do care about the initial premium, but we also care about the history of how these companies have raised their rates, because some companies tend to raise their rates more frequently and more drastically, and you want to go with a rate stable company. There's a lot of brokers out there for sure, and you want to be sure you find someone you can trust. If you'd like to contact us, we're happy to help you, but get someone that can give you all your options. It's our privilege to be able to help people go on Medicare and to keep them from making Medicare mistakes and really ending up in possible financial ruin. So if you found this video to be helpful and you'd like to learn more about Medicare, then you can push the subscribe button here and you'll get notified each time that we post a new video. Also, you can hit the like button so that YouTube will share this video with other people who are trying to learn about Medicare. Finally, if you have a comment or a question, you can put that in the comment section below. We have someone who monitors this and they will get back with you to answer your question. So feel free to watch one of these other videos and keep learning about Medicare. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.